Welcome back, folks. I hope you had a great work week and thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. This week, we're going to be looking at two games that are near and dear to my heart. And to be honest, I've never done this sort of thing before, so we'll give it a go. Let's look at Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D. So really quick, if we're looking at the development of these games, I should look at the N64 development as well. I can go over these super quick and then we can look at the 3DS history. For Ocarina of Time, it was a 7-year development history. This started after A Link to the Past. There was a first tech demo that resembled a 3D version of A Link to the Past Link, fighting a shadowy creature of himself. Ocarina of Time was going to be on the N64 DD, and after some challenges, and to be honest, the N64 DD was really bad, the team decided to settle for a cart release instead. They also made it an open world adventure rather than being like Mario 64, which was one of the ideas they laid out for the game. The game barely came out on November 21st, 1998, and since has become one of the greatest influential games and best games reviewed of all time. Majora's Mask, however, was not the entire case, as it was first going to be an expansion pack of Ocarina of Time known as Zelda Gaiden. I think Eiji Anomiya was the one who basically told the execs they didn't want to make another Ocarina of Time, so they just used assets from Ocarina of Time and created a different story with an albeit smaller world and way less story. I'm not sure who made Majora's Mask, I just know that they were kind of defiant to not make another Ocarina of Time. This would pay off, however, as it become one of the best collectathon games of the 1990s/2000s, as Majora's Mask set new territory for the Zelda series. As far as the two being on the 3DS, a company called Grizzle created these two remasters with updated graphics and keeping the same stuff for the original games, including glitches. Ocarina of Time was released in late 2011, while Majora's Mask was released in early 2015. 3 days after my birthday. How sweet. Well, the stories don't change at all, so let's begin with Ocarina of Time. As it starts as our protagonist Link is sleeping and having trouble with nightmares. A fairy is summoned by the Great Deku Tree to help out the young boy. Link heads to the tree, and much to the chagrin of this dude, freaking screw you, Mido. Link goes inside the tree, destroying the evil inside, and whoops, his efforts go the way of the dodo as the freaking tree dies. What a waste of time. But we get this shiny gem, and a bedtime story, so yeah, that's nice. Leaving, Link seeks the help of Zelda. He goes in learning of Zelda's plan and learning about the gods. Again! The redundancy. Link heads to the Gorons and gains the Stone of Fire. He then goes to the Zora River, gaining the Zora Sapphire. And gets engaged? No thanks. But thank you for the stone. This all goes to a head as Link opens the Door of Time from the Temple of Time by pulling the Master Sword. So sweet, this game's over, right? Right? 7 years later, Link is awakened by one of the sages, Rauru. Link is now an adult, and now has to save Hyrule by means of taking out Ganon. After the fun in the Sacred Realm, we see of a character named Sheik, who explains that Link must go around the world and even through time to save Hyrule. Link heads out to a forest, Death Mountain, Lake Hylia, and a freaking graveyard? Well, I guess Hyrule has nothing to do with it. Oh my goodness! And finally a desert, and through time, but we can discuss that crap later. Link collects the medallions, and then heads back to the Temple of Time, where we see Sheik is actually the Princess of Destiny, Zelda, where thanks to exposing herself, I seriously don't understand why she did this so abrupt and so loud, holy freak. Zelda is kidnapped by Ganon. Link heads to Ganon's tower to save her, where he does end up finishing off Ganon before he goes Super Saiyan Ganon, and the fight ends where Link stabs him in the head. Link heads back and then Navi leaves. I don't care about the lore, the fact that she leaves just pisses me off and it still doesn't make any sense to me. And Hyrule is saved. Link visits Zelda, the game ends and the credits rolls, and also the sages are looking over Hyrule on this mountaintop thingy. Now Majora's Mask is not as much of a mouthful, so yeah. A certain amount of time passes as Link heads out to journey to find Navi. Along the way in some forest, he gets knocked off of Epona, and a masked imp takes his ocarina in Epona. What?
Well, that just sort of happened to me. I mean, I didn't even participate in that.
Well, this is a different opening. Link chases the masked imp, and upon getting dragged around by a horse, holy crap, that probably hurts, Link falls down in his hole, and the Skull Kid, in a mocking manner, runs away and confirms that Epona is headed to the glue factory. Oh, and turns Link into a Deku Scrub. I totally forgot about that. Link heads through this whole part and gains his new companion, Tattle. He and her head out to confront the Skull Kid head on. Before that, the duo meets the Happy Mask Shop salesman, and he says they'll help if they can get the thing back that was stolen from them. and try to get back the thing that was stolen from him. Link and Tattle take the fight to Skull Kid head on and are essentially helpless. Yay! As the Skull Kid does basically whatever he wants. Quick thinking Link knocks down his ocarina from the Skull Kid's hand. Memories rush back as the acid Link took earlier kicks in. Jokes aside, he remembers the Song of Time and pulls out bagpipes? What the crap? And plays the Song of Time, which sends him and Tattle back 3 days into the past. Link and Tattle talk to the happy mask shop salesman and get a song that allows Link to turn back to his former self and keep the remains of the deco into the mask. After child abuse, Link learns that Majora's mask is a mask that can cause havoc and destruction. Link kinda saw that as the moon seems to be crashing down on the town of Termina. This is by the powers of the Skull Kid wearing Majora's mask. Link and Tattle's task is to take down the Skull Kid, and with the knowledge her brother Tail gives away, must head to the four corners around Clocktown, the swamp, the mountain, sea, and desert regions. Link heads to the swamp to first learn some backstory behind the Skull Kid, who wasn't really a bad guy, just misunderstood. Link heads to the Woodfall Temple, as now it's not just about saving the world, but saving a frickin' monkey, because this weirdo wants him dead for a crime he did not commit. It's an injustice, I tell you. Link gets to the Woodfall Temple and defeating the deity inside and gaining the remains, warps out to a godlike creature that tells Link that he needs to gather all four of them to stop the masked imp and save the world. Link finds the princess and takes her to her dad, where the dude lets the monkey go, and Link heads off onto his merry way. Link heads to the mountain region, which has Gorons? And it is snowing. Yeah, this don't seem natural. Link takes care of some babysitting and gets the lullaby to head to Snow Temple, again fighting through it and defeating the entity inside. Link has 2 masks and 2 spirits to help out. Link does the same thing for 2 more temples, where Link and Majora's Mask have a final, albeit easy showdown, where this boss is super easy even if you don't have the fierce deity's mask, and the town and world is saved. Link heads home and peace is restored, ending the game, with basically where it started, and technically speaking Termina goes away. However, I'm gonna say,
I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
yeah, Encyclopedia, if it doesn't happen in the game like Link's Awakening had happen, I'm not gonna buy it. I know I skipped most of the side story for the plot of Majora's Mask, but we'll get to that in a minute. But man, comparing both these plots is really like comparing 2 different sports to me. While I love football and hockey, there's one I love more than the other, and one is much more dark. Yeah, really, don't get me wrong, Ocarina of Time has one of the best Tale as Old as Time plots, but really, this is something in the Zelda series, or really Nintendo, that we've seen before. I do think the story is tightly written and makes for a compelling rush that keeps the player going. However, I tend to agree with the sentiment that Ocarina of Time's plot doesn't show for maybe 2% of the game, and most of it is gameplay. Like, basically, the beginning of the game has plot, the middle has plot, and the end has plot. Sure, you have different temples to talk about the sages, but at the game's core, it's a ton of discovering for yourself things about Hyrule and its people, where I would argue even the same thing about Majora's Mask. The game's NPCs and side stories do a better job at explaining things going on. They talk about the pirates taking the eggs from the Zora, who desperately needs them, and somehow even the eels take them, and the desert goes to the history of Termina, but even a darker history of Termina's history. But unequivocally, I would say that the plot goes to Majora's Mask, even though it's a shorter story. Not a shorter game, mind you, just a shorter story. The characters are great in both games. Link really is a dude that would do anything to save the world. Navi, even though it is annoying, has redeemable qualities such as sticking around through Link's adventure to the end, but then leaves! Zelda is okay in both, but she's kind of stupid. In Ocarina of Time, she almost kills herself because she can't keep her mouth shut. This is really quite comical. I'm not sure why she did this. Ganondorf is my favorite one in the series because this is him just starting out and getting his rise to power, which he has many reasons to, but the fact he torments you from the very start of the game to the end of the game really makes me hate this bro. He's a jerk and a good villain, and this is how good villains should be. Skull Kid is evil, and I love the fact he is evil, and it's to the point where he's ultra creepy. Tattle, in my opinion, is just as good, if not better, as a companion than Navi. I actually think she's probably the most developed character in both of these games, as she really goes through a lot of changes throughout Majora's Mask. The Happy Mask Shop salesman, yeah, he's mysterious and creepy, but not much to say after that. I'm sure Link gave him the mask so he wouldn't have to see him again. Where I do think, at least in my opinion, gives the nod to Majora's Mask as far as plot goes really is how the plot is told. Like I told you, in Ocarina of Time, the plot, except maybe 3 places, is mentioned. However, it's the same as Majora's Mask. And you were thinking, where is the nod from? I think the storytelling is not just through epic cutscenes. These are cool, but not 100% necessary. One person created Majora's Mask, and I assume they did not have time to do all the cutscenes. He wanted, I think, just simply having conversations with people can make a plot just as good, if not better, in doing it in a cutscene, as you learn the plot in the world by talking to others. Majora's Mask forces you to do this, and it goes without saying you should probably 100% Majora's Mask if you want the full extent of what I'm talking about here. Examples for this include reading stories with the grandma and getting the 4th story of the 4 giants, which is really cool because not only does the plot rely on them, but you get backstory to it. And the thing that this game has is abundance of characters with backstories you don't get just through going through the main cast. But Majora's Mask says heck to that. We're just going to make sure you know the full history of these characters, and I love that a lot. When looking at the gameplay side by side, they really are the same with sword fighting and honest to goodness how you solve puzzles and such. And even with the use of these items, it is the same. It's just in Ocarina of Time, certain items can't be used whether you're an adult or a child. It just depends on which one you choose. The real big differences are in Ocarina of Time, there's 0 clock. There is a time system which tells you whether you can do certain events, or getting this stupid heart piece right here can occur. Other than that, it affects nothing. Okay, you have style children come out, but whatever. There are really 3 key differences in this game that they are directly related to each other. First, Majora's Mask has a timer which signifies the time of day and when a side quest can be done here. So here's my thing with Majora's Mask and the time. To me, it is significantly more organized than Ocarina of Time is, as I know exactly what time I have to do the side quest so I can plan accordingly. There is a joke that says that people that struggle with the Majora's Mask time have no time management skills, and this is fairly true, as really I plan every detail to the point where I look up a guide or write stuff down to play this game. And people would probably be like, yeah, I just want to play a game. But no, for me, I really like having these tasks to do. And I like having this sort of structure. While if you are looking for mindless exploring, go play Ocarina of Time. And in this version of the game, there are key things that have been fixed from the OG Majora's Mask. The save system is now better, and the frame rate, in my opinion, truly changed the game for the better. It's easier in both to get to your destination. It really just makes movement for the better for these games. Ocarina of Time especially, and in Majora's Mask, it does make the time flow faster, but I'm so used to knowing my routes that I didn't mind it. I just had to do extra cycles to ensure I got everything I needed. Now for Ocarina of Time, I would say play this version to get the best experience of the game. I mentioned in my N64 Ocarina of Time review that I love the N64 version, and yes, I stand by that. But if you want to play a better version of this game, play the 3DS version. The graphics look better and nothing changes in the game. And there's Master Quest that's added in this game, making it a nice version of this game. Majora's Mask samesies, however, I hate the boss changes in this game. They changed everything that made the N64 version good about the bosses and changed how they function. Like seriously, the annoyance I felt fighting these bosses was unbounded. And the swimming in the N64 was awesome, but not here though. It hurts your hand after playing for too long. Also, changing the dungeons in the endgame was stupid AF to me. Like, I just want a better looking Majora's Mask. That's it, but in the end they tried too much for this remake. Now looking at them both as games, it's really hard for me to say which one I like better. I really like Ocarina of Time, and in fact for years this was my favorite game of all time. But even in the series, I lean towards Majora's Mask more really. I love the setting, the darkness, and the masks for that matter. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the masks in this game change everything from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. They have changed dramatically what normally you would do in any other Zelda game. I really like this, even though some of these masks are frickin' stupid. Thanks, my guy. I'm glad I could smell a good poop with this mask. And even taking out the final boss, having the Fierce Deity mask is amazing to end the game with. I mean, we have seen the same story and gameplay in previous games. Now, Majora's Mask is unique, has a different story, has a different vibe, has different characters, and I like that a lot. I'm not sure if we have seen or ever will see a story quite like Majora's Mask again. This is amazing. I would hope that at some point Nintendo gives us something similar, but I doubt that's gonna happen. And Ocarina of Time, I mean, it's one of the best games ever made. It's fantastic. However, there's just more things about Majora's Mask I like more. There's also more things about Ocarina of Time I like more. You get the picture. There's not really much that I could tell you that would be like, hey, I like this game better. I like this game worse. Both of them are fantastic. I give them both a try. The music and sounds do not change at all, and I'm really glad that they kept these sounds and the soundtracks in them. They're goated. I love these. Well, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these games. I think Majora's Mask 3D and Ocarina of Time 3D are two of the best remakes of two amazing classic games on the N64, and I love playing them. Keep in mind when you play Majora's Mask, there are some stupid and weird changes that they made throughout the game, but I'm not done with Zelda. In the next couple weeks, we'll be looking at Twilight Princess. I'll see you then.